Okay, question about the illegal drone strikes, war crimes going on with the Secretary of Defense. So question says, one of their first excuses for the second strike was that it was self-defense. Do drones get to play self-defense? They have since dropped that excuse. So yes and no. It's not the drone itself, okay? Now I was captain in the Army. I was an intelligence officer for a battalion of combat helicopters. And on my first deployment, I was the drone manager for the combat brigade. Okay, so when we have troops in contact, when we are at war, we use helicopters and drones from the sky for defense, but they are defending on behalf of the people on the ground. Okay, so like when they call a TIC, troops in contact, and we send armed helicopters over. The helicopter itself doesn't need to be getting shot at. The helicopter and the pilots itself do not need to be getting targeted, because self-defense always is self-defense in defense of others, right? But it is very, very important for the helicopters and the drones to make the distinction when it is no longer a threat and they are expected to stop shooting. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that is very, very different on the ground and on the water. On the ground, once you've done the first gun run, it is always a question at the time. Are these people still a threat? That decision is going to be made on the spot by the commanders in the room. In the water, there's no question. There's no decision to be made. It is the literal example of an obvious war crime in the military regulations is firing upon shipwrecked survivors. So there is no claim for self-defense. It has been decided since World War I that as soon as somebody is in the water, they are not a threat. So to be clear, the drone is never firing in its own self-defense. It is firing in defense of others, and you cannot do a second strike when people are already in the water. I'm Daniella, scholar of cults, extreme groups, and extremely bad leadership, former captain in the U.S. Army. I wrote a book all about growing up in a religious cult and then going into the cult of the U.S. Army and going to war twice. You can get signed copies attached here or listen to me read it to you anywhere you get your audiobooks.